Can the root cause of your problem be the removal of a previous countermeasure that was once meant to combat this problem? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So let's dig in. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today's video is about, can a previous countermeasure actually be the root cause of the problem that we're solving now? So let's check a bit what I mean, how we set up, and when we meet this type of problem in practice. So when we have a process that suddenly, so you see here, we have a nicely centered process, suddenly there is a shift and the new mean is a lot higher, we are definitely out of our normal bounds. Or we have a process that used to be nice and centered, it remains centered, but suddenly the spread comes back, a serious spread. Now, these types of changes in a process usually have a root cause, because usually something happened at this point in time. And then it's very good to do a good problem description, but also definitely a timeline of the process around this point. So what happened just before, during the moment that we observe this change in our results. Now, as I said, often we then conclude that there is probably one root cause that caused these deviations from that point. But what if we see that the thing that changed in the process was that a previous countermeasure that was put in place to some time in the past combat problems that we saw, perhaps in fact these problems, but then a couple of years back, this countermeasure has been removed. Maybe it was too expensive, maybe it was really double work, or it didn't really drive our process to performance. But for some reason we removed it and now we see this change. That does not automatically mean that this countermeasure is the root cause. So it does check most of our boxes, right? It solves the problem. By implementing or cancelling the countermeasure, we can turn the problem on and off. It has a direct link, so that might tick it as the root cause that we need to get back to this. But what if this countermeasure was indeed really just battling the symptoms? So when we do the 6-step problem solving, and if you're interested in the template, I'll put a download link below in the video description. But when we go through the 6 steps, the third step is to identify and implement temporary controls to curb the problem right now. And then after we find real root causes to tackle the problem, we should remove those temporary measures, those temporary controls, and really get going with the final controls that really solve the problem and improve the process. So there is a good chance that previous problem-solving efforts did not really tackle the root cause. And that is something, when you see this happening, and especially when you then notice that there was a conscious choice to remove some very expensive part of the process, some double control, or some removing of a lot of scrap materials, stuff like that, it is really important that you revisit the previous problem-solving documentation. What did that team do? How did they do the analyses? Why did they make the conclusions that we needed those countermeasures? Because there is a chance that they didn't really go through all the steps, and that at that moment they took the decision that the temporary control measure fixed the problem and was enough to just move on to next problems in the organization. Now for that, one of the best ways to check, and this is of course also very valid when you are doing a problem solving for the first time, but especially when you are checking previous problem solvings, what you should check is their 5 why, so the root cause part of the whole problem analysis. And when we are at the top levels, so level 1 or 2, so the first, second why, this level, it actually solves, let's say, symptoms. So this is still the physical problem level. While when you get deeper, so the 4th, the 5th, the 6th why, they get to the root cause. the underlying problem that makes that we get these physical problems. So this is, for instance, right, when we are talking about breakdowns, we will now change our gearboxes every 2 weeks to make sure that they never break down and that we just continue production. This is very expensive. It does fix the physical problem. So at that point, you will never expect those gearboxes to break during a production run anymore. But it's almost certainly something else, some stress on the material, and because of something else was not aligned, that is the actual root cause. So especially when you are removing such expensive types of countermeasures, make this check. And another thing that is also good to know for especially this 5Y type of root cause analysis, when you are at this low level, what you often see is a lot of procedures. So there are method things here. So these are work standards. These are how do we check things? How do we align things? These are very method-based things. These are our processes. The top level, so the physical things that we see going wrong, they are often machine material type of problems, of reasons why things go wrong. That's just a good, it's not always true, but I would say 80-90% of the cases, top level in the 5Y is very physical. The 4, 5, 6 level in the 5Y, we are really getting into who is checking, how do we check, how often do we replace, what are standards. So we're really getting into this. We are working, and this is a good thing because in fact the real root causes that we can solve are what are our procedures. So how do we work, how do we check, how do we do all kinds of things. So that is how you check, especially when you get a problem that was immediately after removing some expensive previous countermeasure. Sometimes you have falsely removed an actual solution to a root cause, but also it can quite often be that that countermeasure was fixing a physical symptom, and you now have a chance to really improve your process by again getting to the root cause and fixing the root cause. Now I hope that this inspired you to go and recheck the assumptions and the root cause analysis of previous problem-solving teams, especially when you have these type of problems where you're basically sort of messing with a previous team's work. It really can help to improve your process when you redo a bit of their work and build on the knowledge that they made with your own assumptions, your own analyses, to in the end get a much better organization. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. For now, I wish you the best of luck with your problem solving, and remember to enjoy the continuous improvement journey.